Hello, thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to go over telework for employees, some tips and tricks that I personally have experienced working from afar with AgSafe. So my name is Natalie Gupton, and I am the Director of Business Services and Industry Relations. And as many of you are probably aware, AgSafe headquarters is in Modesto, California. So I started with the organization over 3 years ago, working from my house ever since. So what I'm going to discuss with you today is some of the things that I've learned through the process of working out of my house and telecommuting to the headquarters in California. Just a quick overview of our disclaimer. Okay, so I'm going to provide you 7 tips that I've learned and experienced through my telework with AgSafe. So first of all, I know that everybody is in a weird circumstances at this point in time. You moving to work out of your house may be inconvenient. You may not have extra space or a dedicated office that you can access like I have. However, do your best. Try to be flexible and just find a space that will work for you, that will be convenient, will be away from distractions and from other family members. I know again, there's circumstances that we're in at this point in time that may be difficult, but dedicating a space, whether it is the corner of the kitchen table or a quiet place in the living room, maybe potentially in the bedroom, making sure that you have this dedicated space throughout your time that you have teleworking, that it allows continuity and hopefully ultimately optimum productivity. With that, you can have your printer set up, you can have a keyboard, a mouse, things, so you're not exclusively just working from a laptop. We all, I believe, enjoy the luxury of having a real keyboard and mouse versus the touchpad on a laptop. So again, just having that dedicated workspace is very helpful. If you do have that flexibility, choose a place that does have a door. So you can close the door if you have some important meetings or just need some focused, quiet time away from the family if you're working on an important project. Number 2, and this is something that has worked very well for me, is having a disciplined work hours. You have to keep yourself accountable. And working from home, you don't have your manager or your boss looking over your shoulder to witness, did you actually get in your seat at 8 a.m. And throughout this process that AgSafe has learned working with me from afar, it's just being flexible. Knowing that sometimes your employee may or may not be at their desk at the 100% designated times that the office is open. For me, I have a deadline that I have to have my butt in my seat at my desk no later than 9 a.m. You've got to have some fluid work hours. Some days you're going to be at your desk 30 minutes earlier than you normally are and before your designated work hours. Some days, again, you might be there a little bit later, and it all averages out. And having that fluidity and that flexibility is one of the big pluses of working from home and doing telework. But again, you have to keep yourself accountable. Set a deadline for yourself that no matter what is going on, that you start your work no later than X time every day. And also, going on the opposite end, being at home does not mean that you have to work all the time. Keep your family and work as separate as possible, which I know, I realize that might be very difficult at this point in time. Currently, my daughter goes to daycare, and I truly operate out of my home office just like I went to the AgSafe office. Give me a week and I might have some different tips of what it's like to work at home with a toddler. But right now, this has worked very well for me. And again, working with your family and who's in your home at this point in time, be clear with them about your working hours. With your friends also, may not be having a lot of interaction at this point, but keeping texts and phone calls on an emergency basis during work hours. Treat it just like you are in the office. And again, everyone has to be flexible, but keeping yourself accountable is so very important, because if you start sliding, it's going to be a snowball effect by the time this process ends. So we just want to maintain your level of productivity that you have in the office, and to also just keep your sanity at home. Number 3, my advice to you is get dressed. I know everyone jokes about working from home, being in your pajamas all day. I don't do that. Granted, I don't do my hair and makeup like I would if I went to the office, but I get up, I put on blue jeans, I put on somewhat of a decent outfit. I usually put on tennis shoes, just to feel a little bit more whole and ready to attack the workday. You're working up against somewhat of a mental mind game. If you find yourself in your pajamas at 2 p.m., you might be tempted to crawl in your bed and take a nap. Or you may find yourself being lazy, like you do on a Saturday morning. You start to slow your morning routine down. So just think of those things. If it's going to help you get up the same time that you do if you went to the office, take a shower, just prepare yourself for the day. Some days when I have not gone out into the rest of the world, I go as far as doing hair and makeup and doing an outfit where I feel nice, because it actually helps me be more focused and more productive, because I feel like I'm doing something important today and I'm getting ready to get down to business. So just keep that in mind. Again, you don't have to go to those extremes, but just to battle that mental mind game, just put on normal clothes and not stay in your pajamas. Number 4, this is something I think AgSafe and I have done very well from the very beginning. When you are teleworking, you have to maintain constant communication. So important to maintain accessibility, making an extra effort to answer emails in a timely fashion, answer phone calls, make phone calls. It will be quite a change, especially if this is your first time working away from the office and you're used to that human interaction. You're used to having certain conversations face to face. If that's the case, utilize video conferencing. Zoom is a very easy platform to use. I believe it is a paid service. There are several free services out there, So check into that. It's a great resource to utilize, especially at this point in time when you may just need some human interaction. It would be a great substitute. One key point I have on my list here is use to-do lists and calendars. Be aware of what your other coworkers are doing, especially if you're working on projects, to know availability. Providing that access to, for example, your Outlook calendar and people to look and see when you have phone calls scheduled, maybe if you have a particular lunch event that you are working on, that you have those things ready and visible where you just couldn't yell over your cubicle wall to verify with your coworker that a particular day and time works for them. And sometimes it's a great substitute, and sometimes you just need to pick up the phone and make a phone call. So keep that in mind. Communication is key. And one last point also, realizing that you are changing your operations a little bit because you are moving from a traditional office to telework, is having clear communication. Potentially you could over-explain, and I don't mean that in a negative connotation, but being very clear on the tasks that you need, the pieces that go into projects, talking through those maybe a little bit more than you typically do when you have that daily face-to-face interaction with your coworkers. So clear, constant communication. Number 5, use breaks to exercise. Being in a home office is so different than going into a physical office. You are eliminating so much movement that you take for granted. Think about how much you get away from your desk when you go into the office for normal daily work, walking to your car, walking from your car to the office, going out for lunch, walking to your neighbor's cubicle, even going to the restroom. How much do you move during a normal work day when you go into the office? Now, when you are in a home, potentially your space is much more condensed. You've got to stay healthy and remain active. You have to be intentional about doing this. My restroom is right outside of my office door. I can get there in a few steps. I'm not getting exercise, but just getting up for daily biological needs. I personally, I have a home workout plan. There's lots of different things that you can choose. With today's day and age, with on-demand options through YouTube, Netflix, you can find a yoga instructor video, Pilates, even some cardio aerobics types activities. There's so many things to choose from. The thing that I cannot underscore enough is just to make sure you're getting out of your chair, away from your computer multiple times a day, and just moving. Remain active. Number 6, I giggle a little bit. This wasn't so much an issue for me, but realizing that you are moving from a different situation where you have to, going into an office, you have to plan your meals out. If you take your lunch, once you eat it, it's gone. Now that you're at home and have free access to your pantry and your freezer and your refrigerator, you really have to make sure that you have self-control, that you understand that you just can't sit and snack all day while you're working because you can. It's just one thing to consider, which also makes number 5 so very important, is to make sure you stay active. Think about the time that we are in. It can be very stressful, and the uncertainty can be daunting. However, know yourself and be self-aware and be aware of your needs. Are you a stress eater? Whether you're dealing with a stressful project at work, or us dealing with the COVID-19 issue, are you driven to snack because you're a stress eater? So think about those things. Figure out what you can do to control the situation, and potentially have family members keep you accountable. Make them ask you a question if they see you with your second snack for the day. So just being aware of that, and taking note. And lastly, I've written out noise canceling headphones. This is a good investment, especially if you are at home with several family members. Your spouse or your partner may be telecommuting as well. You may not have separate spaces. So that's something to think about. My husband uses these on a daily basis. I choose not to. I listen to music instead. But given that we both work from home, noise canceling headphones work very well for him. And it's a tip that I wanted to pass on to you as you find yourself in a new situation and figuring out your new norm for a while. So again, great tool to tap into if you have them available already. If you are on the fence about making a purchase for travel, this might be something to push you in that direction. But again, a great tool that my husband recommends when working from home. So thank you so much for joining us for this quick webinar on telework. If you need any information or help in navigating these new waters, please reach out to the AgSafe office. We are trying to maintain our normal as much as we can and making ourselves available to you. We are available on social media and working to keep information posted there as well. But you can email us at safeinfo@agsafe.org. And of course, our home office number is 209-526-4400. Thank you and have a safe day.